Stop! Sure you want the rest of it?
Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast.
Every penny's worth.
Welcome back to Dirty Harry Minute, a podcast that reviews every minute of the 1971 film classic starring Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. I'm one of your hosts, John, and I'm delighted to have my usual co-hosts, Tim.
Hello.
And Trent.
Hello.
And returning super guests, Bartek.
Hello, listening people.
And a man from Cranbourne, currently, Will.
Hello, people of the listening. I'm Will.
Well, today, very meaningfully, we have the last minute. Minute 99. The minute continues with rolling credits and ends a scant 15 seconds later. What did you think of this minute, Bartek?
You know, it went by so quickly it almost feels like 17 seconds.
Well, it's 15 seconds, but I couldn't only capture, as previously explained, 17 seconds, unfortunately. What did you think of this minute, Tim?
It's okay.
You like the old WB sort of water tower almost?
I like the
logo?
yellow font used on...
It's very thick.
Makes you hungry?
And I like that it doesn't go to black. Nowadays, as soon as things go to black, you just walk out of the cinema because no one pays attention to the credits.
I'd like to say this was filmed in the hills of wherever they filmed MASH, but unfortunately it's not. It's the Bay Area.
Did you try and go there, John?
I did, but just time was my enemy. I thought, I don't really want to devote half a day to getting there by public transport and back, but maybe I should have just Ubered it. But yeah, what did you think of these wonderful credits, Will?
I like them. They're nice credits. You know, you got they're not over a black screen or anything. It's over the nice zoomed out shot. They're nice thick golden yellow text, and they're quick. So even if you didn't like them, it's like, well, they're not sticking around too long. So
It is refreshing. Like most credit sequences these days are, like 5 minutes, and the only thing that's really keeping you there is like maybe the one or two production people that you might be interested to know about, or if a song is playing that you happen to like. But for this one, it's just, hey, here's the cast, which I think is what most people would be interested in, and that's the end. Literally, the end.
Who's Sergeant Reinecke? Or Reineck?
He's one of the police officers that when Charlie Russell's only 5 years old, and you briefly see him lead Harry to the body of Charles Davis.
Oh, I see.
Very minor character.
Did they name him? How do you know
You know
that?
the guy who's on the roof?
Yeah.
Who's reporting out? He
Yeah.
goes, it looks like an odd 6. Sergeant Reinecke. I did look it up many years ago, and I think Reinecke is some mythical character, Germanic or Teutonic name in some Brothers Grimm movie, but evidently it's a surname as well. Sorry for mentioning the Germans, Bartek. I thought this minute would be difficult, so I have some fun questions, Tim, over the movie. You happy? You excited to hear them?
You just switched to a Scorpio-type voice there.
He's my favourite character in this movie.
Hubba, hubba, hubba.
Number 1, Bartek, how long do you think it is before our cuddly liquor proprietor gets back his stolen Luger? Do you reckon he ever gets it back?
Did Scorpio have a gun in this ending sequence?
Oh, yes, he did.
And it would have been that gun, right?
That was the gun? Was it?
That was the gun,
Yeah.
the Luger, yeah.
What was the fate of the gun? Oh, he was reaching for it just when he got shot, right?
He had the kid hostage.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's in the pool of water.
No.
I'm pretty sure it would be on the landing deck somewhere.
Yeah. Just before he gave that look of, you're not going to shoot me.
as we know from the novelization, the chief is going to get a report about this incident, which means that the police will investigate.
He may have to subpoena that from Harry because Harry's quit the force. He's not going to voluntarily give a statement.
Yes, but that when they investigate, they'll take any evidence they find, and that gun, I would assume, would be evidence. So, does evidence like that go back to who it originally belonged to, or does it go to like an evidence locker?
Well, that's the question. In the Rock movie Walking Tall, he literally grabs his wooden gun, his wooden baseball bat or whatever from the judge when he's acquitted and just runs off with it. So it can happen pretty quickly.
I think that happens in the original Walking Tall as well with Joe Don Baker. I think he does the same thing in that, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Number 2, Will. Yep. The police department are very lucky in this movie in that their helicopter budget is just raised exponentially. Considering it didn't help one iota and find Scorpio, do you reckon they've lost that budget? Or like every police or FBI, when they get funding increases, it never seems to go away. Do you reckon they're lucky? Do you reckon they're still hanging on to that?
I reckon they hold on to them for a little while, a couple years, and they're just using any excuse to get them. Like someone gets a parking violation and like 10 helicopters just start circling overhead. But then once that petrol crisis kicks in 73, it's like, we're not even going to be able to keep one in the air, guys.
To be fair, they do find things, but they only have them in sight for a little while, then they lose them.
Man, they need to invest in paratroopers.
Yeah.
They didn't spend enough money.
Getting the people off the helicopter.
They need to be able to see it, jump out of the helicopter.
Will they be smart enough to remember to keep someone in the helicopter so it doesn't crash?
No, they're just going to keep crashing. We have to buy a new one every time.
Every time I see the name Cobart, I think of Tasmania. Tim, don't you?
What?
Cobart. Ruth Cobart, who plays Marcella Platt, our bus driver. Sideshow Bob. Number 3, Tim. And this question was found on a Year 12 exam paper.
Ooh.
Is Harry Callahan just a slightly more aware RoboCop? Discuss.
I would assume that Year 12 media class studied both films. Otherwise, that would be a very poor question.
Because look at the way he throws the badge. It's like mechanically he throws it, that shot of him going... Yeah.
Do we agree that it was a mechanical throw?
Yeah, pretty robotic.
Okay.
It was a bit stiff.
As we talked when he was on the track, quite a bit of spin on to that, like throwing a rock. It wasn't that mechanical.
If someone were to do a modern day edit of it to have like a video game gauge of like increasing power, and then it like fills and then he throws it, maybe then that would be justification. Like it's a video game animation.
I wonder if when he threw the badge, if it like skipped across the water. Because he had that kind of throw of it.
There's
a very
gentle splash where you can tell when it hits the water. I don't think it was like a pop, 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 pop.
Do you think it'd be a good post-credits sequence, seeing that badge still going on the water?
Or maybe like slowly sinking?
And then that kid from Cop and a Half, when he goes, I'm the one with the badge.
And at the end of the credits, it's the bottom of the pool of water, and it's like next to Scorpio's dead body.
I still think it would be good if there was a shot of Scorpio going, help me!
Number 4, something we brought up many minutes ago, just based on some, I think, IMDb message board. They kept saying that Clark Griswold's model pool in Vacation, where he's still the remaining days he's got at work, and he's showing his colleague the pool he will buy, like a little model of it when he gets his bonus. Yep. It's supposed to be based on the rooftop pool.
Okay.
You think that's bullshit? Like, why? How would that fit? Do you reckon, why would Warner Brothers have a dolled up like replica of a pool that was in a movie made 25 years beforehand?
Prop?
Maybe I don't know.
Did they build that rooftop pool for the film, or maybe I don't know.
No, it's in the Holiday Inn Chinatown, still on the roof apparently.
Maybe they're just really big fans of Dirty Harry.
Do the credits of that film have in the special thanks?
I think they're animated, aren't they? It's a Warner Brothers film, but
yeah. Do the credits thank the crew of Dirty Harry or something?
Sorry.
If anyone can find out whether, and also the rumour that this movie was shown to the Filipino police as a training manual. If anyone can validate that, apart from just some random comments online, I'd really be interested to see if that's true. So how's the music working for you, Tim, in this? We're not hearing it now, but it's... A lovely haunting
Great.
little
It's-
theme.
It's Harry's theme, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah, it's literally, I think, called Harry's theme.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Suits the somber mood, contemplative. I don't know. You walk out of this not really on a high as such, do you?
Well, like we said, it's a very contemplative ending.
Yeah.
You said this is Harry's theme. Is that a recurring leitmotif throughout the other films, or is it just in this one?
Famous in this movie itself, we see it also Anne-Marie Deacon's when she's being... When the
Brought
hole's
up.
being... Yeah,
Right.
it's very somber there. Interestingly enough, it actually appears in the Sudden Impact, the fourth sequel, in a really shitty sort of 80s synth version trend.
Ugh.
And it happens in the middle of the movie when Harry's just got rid of the mid-level bad guys, and it's zooming out like before the Sonderlock stuff really happens, and like the saxophone, like the doo-doo-doo, it's sort of been replaced with the saxophone. The doo-doo-doo.
Would Clint have played that saxophone himself? Maybe he said, "I'm trying to sexy it up."
It was David Bowie who played it. No, but and that's the only time it pops up again. It just seems really tacky in the 80s version in that scene. It's trying to go for just immediately, pathos, remembering back to this.
I guess I can kind of appreciate because, like, in other films that have iconic theme songs, they're the kind of things that you'd be like, get pumped up when you hear it. Like, I don't know, like Beverly Hills Cop, like, da da, you want to like sing along with it. I didn't know that this character had a theme song, so it feels like a lot more subtle, more purposeful in that way, I suppose.
You'd hope that Dirty Harry's bar and grill at Movie World would be playing this song.
Is there a restaurant at Movie World?
Well, Will, I love this music, this theme, as short as it is. But are we supposed to be thinking more about Anne-Marie Deacon and the other victims? Or are we supposed to be thinking about Harry's his life? Are we supposed to think, he's been short-shrifted by the bureaucracy he have to work for? It was a mixture of all those things. Are we supposed to think about Anne-Marie Deacon at this point?
Ooh, it's hard to say. I think it's a bit of both. I think, this is a very bitter ending because it's like, oh, yes, he's defeated the villain and everything, but so many people have died avoidably at this point. It's still pretty tragic. And I don't think the focus is so much on, Harry's being screwed over by the bureaucracy or anything. It's more, he just, trying to enforce the law and trying to get justice. We're in conflict with each other, and that's really sad.
How does Harry get home? Hitchhike?
Well, I'm assuming, Trent, you'd prefer this movie to end like being there where Peter Sellers sort of ascends up to heaven.
Yeah.
Maybe Harry could do that now.
He could.
He just he hops on another bus, the roof again.
Yeah.
Is there any poignancy? We were talking in the previous minute about how he walks left, to Alf's perspective right. Is there any poignancy to the fact that most of the quote-unquote life that we see in this frame is the cast to the right?
Yeah, a lot of activity on the right of the screen.
Actually, hold on. Now that I look at it closer, he's actually kind of walking upwards the middle. Like, he was walking to that direction, but yeah, you see him in the very middle of the screen at the bottom, so he's heading...
I hope he's going to check in Bartek with the kids in the bus, see if they're okay.
You were very concerned about them in the previous minute, yeah.
Imagine he traumatizes the lady, the bus driver, and says, drive with the car.
Someone was saying in the previous minute that they're probably dead, so it's nice that we're now considering them alive.
Maybe he will go to the diner and, hey kids, hot dogs on the house, really.
John, from memory, this is quite remote, isn't it? In real geography.
I think, yeah. Is it like 30 kilometres north of San Francisco?
Oh, so
San Mateo County
I think
something?
it's like,
Or maybe 20 or something.
forgive me if I've got this wrong to the locals, but you take the bridge, the Golden Gate, and then you go through those rainbow tunnels through the mountains, and then
It's called the Robin Williams Tunnel now. What? The Rainbow Arches,
serious?
yeah. No, serious, yeah. In honor.
Yeah, I remember that, actually.
What was it called before?
He lived in this part of Marin County, I think, or maybe in the more posh areas. I don't know.
This is like the other side of the mountain, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Is that where they filmed that thing he was in when What Dreams May Come?
Maybe, yeah.
Because remember, there's
If that was Oregon
he
or something.
dies
Yeah.
going into a tunnel, or his wife dies,
Maybe.
and it could be that.
Oh, really?
I just saw that then. I have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know how specifically close to the tunnel it was, but...
The one done by that Kiwi director. whatever his name. Anyway,
While you guys are looking, I've got one of my great quotes from, this time, the comedy film nerds. Real cops couldn't catch the Zodiac Killer, but Harry blew that scumbag into a pond, then followed up by throwing his badge away because the badge means nothing if the man wearing it is restrained by do-gooder public officials. I hosted basic cable game shows, so I know about being restricted by suits who won't let me be too mean to stupid contestants. I feel your pain, Harry. Is this a fascist piece of shit movie, Bartek?
No, and also his name isn't Zodiac Killer, it's Scorpio Killer. 1 point to me.
Then why is he just Killer in the credits, Bartek?
yeah.
Explain
Because
that.
it's his last name. His name is Scorpio, his last name is Killer.
Bit of IMDb fascination for you, Tim. Now, in the Blu-ray, it's accompanied with some per diem receipts from Clint about his wardrobe. And it says the sport coats. When it says sport coats, do you reckon that means the brown poo jacket?
Yeah.
Back then, 1971, it was $52.40, which now is like $330 or something. We were talking before whether his costume is supposed to show that he's doesn't have much money, he's wearing shitty, shabby clothes, but that sounds pretty good for a jacket, doesn't $300 today's money?
Well, I guess in today's value, it's mid-range.
Just for a jacket, though, $300. Yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's a tight ass with his clothes.
Well, he was protective of his pants. Didn't want them cut.
I mean, they were like 200 something. That's a lot of money back then.
It says
isn't
red.
it?
It says red sweater, $1971, which is $100 today for that red sweater.
Is this from one of those steal his look memes?
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd pay that money for something durable
Yeah,
that isn't going to fall apart after 2 washes in a spin dryer.
I'm a tight ass. I'm not critiquing him. I'm just saying he's reasonably well priced. His private life and his professional life. He's not skimping on money.
How do you know it's not police issue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, to address our latent sexism, we were upset about the fact that Scorpio is just called Killer, but I do notice that the bus driver is just called Bus Driver when she has a full name.
Yeah, Marcella
strange.
Platt.
Was that
or
not-
Marcella Platt.
I thought that was Miss Willis. Who's Miss Willis?
Oh, Miss Willis, that's another thing. She's Mary, the secretary, who has 2 lines. You know, he's in there.
Do you want some, can I bring you some coffee? That
Yeah,
lady?
I think so. Either that or the Mary he talks to when he first come in, yeah. So unions were fighting for the wrong people for credits back then, or?
I did Google. I was kind of curious at what point movie credits became what they are now, the long 6-minute
Oh, yeah,
ones.
what do you learn?
Well, they just said that the first major films to contain extensive closing credits, but almost no opening credits, were Around the World in 80 Days, 1956, and West Side Story, 1961.
Around the World has a lot of cameos, doesn't it?
Yeah, I
Wonder
think
if that's
so.
linked to it.
But then that was,
So does the Jackie Chan one.
but those are quite early. Like
Yeah.
those were dated 50s and 60s. So
Yeah.
Because did they freeze frame on or just show snippets in Around the World of all the actors?
Maybe. I think on the VHS copy, on some of them, it's got like heaps of them.
well, it says it had it was very elaborate because it was animated and
Right.
identified the actors.
Because remember, like the Blues Brothers at the end, you know, they're singing Jailhouse Rock. Sorry, spoiler, who hasn't seen the Blues Brothers? They're singing Jailhouse Rock, and then it cuts to, you know, all the, like, you know, Aretha Franklin, everybody in the house. And then, you know, then Ray Charles is like, let's rock. And he's obviously rocking side to side. That sort of dragged it on. So I'm wondering if it was like that.
Well, it says Superman also had a very long closing credit sequence.
yeah, it
nearly
did.
8 minutes to end.
That was a fucking long one.
Did it have the cool theme music?
It did the whole, yeah.
Speaking of tweed jackets, someone's written on IMDb or something that Bill Cosby was originally one of the, you know, people considered for Dirty Harry.
What?
What, the main
Yeah.
character?
That would be a strange alternate timeline,
Is that
right
just based
there.
on his I Spy thing or something?
Who knows?
Well, yeah.
I wonder where they got that from.
Would he have still hated minorities?
Well, he'd love the tweed, wouldn't he?
That's the Simpsons version of him, not the real version.
And the hardcore porn and the Osbournes. Also, Stephen King. You've read his books, Dark Tower? based the character on Dirty Harry?
I haven't read his books. I've seen some of the films based on his books.
All these things mean nothing to me most of the time because I don't know what they are, but Wolverine, apparently, Frank Miller, of course. We talked about Sin City, how he called one Nancy Callahan was one of the daughters. And Wolverine was basically modelled on Eastwood, is that true?
I don't know, because that's not his character. But
or is it just his inspiration or something?
Probably built like similar.
They're both gruff,
yeah.
I guess.
Probably like the gruff sort of mannerisms, I'd say.
Yeah.
Wolverine's from Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the 60s. So what does Frank Miller have to do with it?
I think he wrote...
He was a big writer on a lot of Marvel comic books, and he...
On the actual comics?
Yeah.
I thought it was just a film guy.
Oh, no. Then they made shit movies of his comics.
From memory, his sort of importance in the whole picture, not just that character, was he rejuvenated some storylines for
Correct,
some
yes.
popular characters that are sort of synonymous with that sort of dark 90s edge that still continues to this day.
Basically responsible for Superman versus Batman. Dark Edge or whatever it's called.
Because I know you mentioned now that, Clint's retiring, Hugh Jackman could do an Eastwood maybe, and I didn't quite know the
He's
background.
musical, like Eastwood.
Yeah.
He can do Peter Allen. I don't know if he plays a piano, but yeah, he'd shake those maracas.
Bring out his sax.
Bartek, where do you think Harry's off to now? Is there any chance he's going to drop in with Chico and see he's all right and say, well, you screwed up, you weren't good enough to be with me, but or he's going to go to Chico's wife for a bit of affair time? What's he doing?
I suppose to go way more generally, not so specifically, I think he would at least be heading back to the city, because where else would he go? So the question is, what would he be doing in the city? Would he be going home? Would he be going to give his report that the chief isn't going to like? Or,
is he going to the city? He hates the city that's encroaching and
but where
these
else?
Miranda rights in a shack somewhere.
Maybe he's going out into the wilderness to return to the wild, his natural habitat.
I mean, if this
To the East Woods.
If this world was very similar to GTA San Andreas, the desert of Nevada wouldn't be very far, so maybe he's going there.
Try his luck at the casinos.
Because it's a very Western and very American idea that there's a lone hero that comes into town to protect the townspeople, and then he sacrifices himself and has to leave and just abandons the city. That's Westerns 101. You've moved up in the world, Bartek. Spit and Polish podcast. You're actually reviewing some real classics? Or?
At times, yes.
Have you done the searches or any famous, John Wayne Westerns? Are they on your radar to do?
No, but we do take requests, so we can definitely do them at some point.
Do the searches, because a lot of people talk about that in relation to the Dirty Harry ending, and I've never actually seen it.
What about his own trilogy, Man with No Name?
Oh, of course, yeah.
The Searchers is great.
You like
If you're going to watch a John Wayne film, definitely watch that
I
one.
saw it forever ago on a
Beautiful.
flight, so I was tired, so I can't really say I've seen it, but technically I have.
The Searchers, yeah. I mean, it's a John Ford thing. It's, go to a different field. When you walk in to a DVD shop, sorry, they don't exist anymore, but once upon a time when you did, that was always one that was never in the collected box sets and shit, so you could tell that had saleability of its own.
outside of a genre, it was even...
Yeah.
Just like The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
One John Wayne movie I have seen, I was duty bound to do it, was the movie that the authors of this, the Finkies or the Finks, wrote beforehand, Big Jake. I think that was the script they turned in.
Was that John Wayne or John Holmes? Sorry.
Big
Sorry.
Jake. There's a certain sort of filmmaker that definitely realised what you do is you have an adjective and then a short man's name. So you got Mad Max, Big Jake, Dirty Harry. I'm sure there's heaps more you can find that.
RoboCop.
Robotic Cop. Anyway, I could only sit through a bit of this one, the Big Jake, but immediately I saw a few parallels with Dirty Harry. There's a ranch hand at the start who's called Chico, so Never throw away a funny name. And of course, the main part of the movie is that someone's kidnapped. So the mother wants a bagman who's John Wayne because she doesn't trust the regular cavalry, she says. But it's a pretty boring movie, really, because you have... The big line John Wayne says is, "Whatever happens, I'm going to blow a hole in your head," which nowhere near as good as Do I Feel Lucky, is it, Bartek? Do you feel scared by John Wayne when you see him in a movie? Is he commanding
not really.
presence?
I'm worried his toupee will fly off at times. But no, I'm not.
Everything just seems like a joke.
That's what I feel.
I'll blow your head off.
I think you kind of had to be there.
Yeah, that's what I was literally about to say. I'm younger, so I mainly know him through like Whose Line Is It Anyway impressions.
Yeah.
So I think of like, Ryan Stiles doing John Wayne rather than John Wayne himself.
The Searchers, I'll defend him in that till the cows come home. But for the most part, I've got a distant relative by marriage who is a John Wayne fanatic, and I've never seen it myself, but for at least the last 30 years there's been talk of his John Wayne room. That he got divorced from his first wife, and the John Wayne room did not get touched. Apparently there were a lot of valuable items in there, but in the divorce, apparently it was just sort of you can have all that.
My wife, who's pregnant, she is very grateful this podcast is now coming to an end. And she to say she doesn't like Eastwood is an understatement of grand order. But even her, it's filtered into her life. When I say goodbye, I kiss her in the morning, she goes, "Bye-bye, Callahan." But I don't have an Eastwood room yet.
You don't get the big cup. Sorry.
Big cup.
If you're a cop.
Is that because you keep saying that to her?
Bye-bye, Callahan.
My neighbour, he's from Malaysia originally. And when he moved here, it's like this was his favourite English movie. So he's like, I'm just going to go by Harry now. And he's done that for like 20 years.
Wow.
So he speaks...
So not only
he
did he
speaks
go to the
English.
Philippines, police training, went to Malaysia too.
I actually don't know his real name. He doesn't really go by it anymore. He just goes by Harry.
Wow.
So yeah, Big Jake, I don't recommend it. Pretty boring. I fast-forwarded through a lot of it, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what sort of script this husband and wife team were turning out before Dirty Harry. But it's just basically a classic Western, which John Wayne was familiar with. But of course, Clint, coming off the spaghetti Westerns, are like the next phase revisionist Westerns, where, good guys could be a little bad and violence could be just a part of everyday life, whereas in John Wayne it's like you have to have a righteous reason to be anger, to have anger at society and to be violent. But you had this, obviously it was originally offered to the likes of John Wayne and Paul Newman, who are perhaps a bit more in the old school, good guys who do good things and don't deviate from that.
I just thought of something scary about John Wayne. You know that rumour about when he died, what they found?
No.
Apparently a 9-foot shall we say feces bending through his intestines. What? Allegedly. Solid 9 foot of, it was in
Was
his
constipated?
bowels. Don't know.
Was it from 20 sailors or something?
Fucking knows. I don't. Maybe he was doing those implant things you can do now to fix gut health. But
Well, he died because of his vicinity to Chernobyl, right? So
not Chernobyl.
the
It was
Alamo-
another
something in
bomb
Nevada or
test
something,
site. In Nevada on the set of Genghis Khan.
Like 2/3 of them, yeah.
Yeah, the film where he played Genghis Khan.
I knew that. What I swear
radiation.
it was.
Yeah, there was a site where they
I
filmed
always
it.
just assumed it was because of his smoking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Consequences
Wow.
from the radiation, but
Oh, maybe I'm
No, I don't-
okay. I remember the radiation. I guess
2/3 of the cast and crew all got cancer and died within 20 years of the film being made. Yeah.
and those that didn't big turds.
Wow.
Well, no, the ones that did die. Well, that famous actor guy, Wayne Johns or whatever.
John Wayne Bobbitt.
Big Jake.
Big Jake, indeed.
So, of course, the original version of this script was written in the classic Western sort of style, and they're expecting someone like Paul Newman or maybe John Wayne. He always said he was offered the role to be this part. But now you've got Clint Eastwood, who's famous for these revisionist Westerns. They had to change the script a bit, so Dean Reisner came in and changed it. So you have Harry, who's obviously right to be angry. He has righteous anger against Scorpio, but he's also angry at the system. Whereas in The Searchers, John Wayne realizes, I have no place here. I've got to leave. You know, I've defended the villagers from the Indians race. So, but in here, he's disgusted with the system and he quits. So, yeah.
But then he comes back for more in number 2.
He does. To our eternal chagrin. You like some of the sequels, don't you, Tim?
Oh, the second one's good.
Have you seen them? You've seen them all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did. I hadn't seen 3, 4, and 5 properly for a long time until about maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I actually sat through them, and they did get sort of worse as they went.
They work kind of standalone, don't they? Like, I think that was the intention. Like, I mean, yes, you see the chief come back in the third one, but there's no real history, you know.
Yeah.
I did have a good chuckle. Was it in the Deadpool with the fortune cookie?
Oh, yeah.
You're a shit out of luck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit better of a catchphrase than the Enforcer. Marvellous. That's his catchphrase. Do you have any last thoughts, Bartek? We'll never talk about him again. Scorpio? Is he, in the words of Mad Max, a terminal psychotic, a terminal crazy?
I like him. You asked the question in the last episode and I didn't get to answer. I think that he's a good villain, not just because you can have a villain that's just straight up, you know, evil, a force to be reckoned with, but also because he's a good villain for Harry to go up against. You know, nothing to do with his past. It's a villain that Harry has to go out of the means of the law to defeat. And yeah, you don't need a deep backstory for him, as we said, with, you know, modern day films. It just works with the simplicity of the characterization rather than giving them, you know, character arcs to develop, things like that.
And you, Tim, is he the best cinema psychotic since Kevin Arnold in The Wonder Years, just staring blankly at his mum while she asks him questions for about a minute before responding?
Yeah, probably. I do think he really played that.
Would you want him to team up with the villain from, like, Blue Velvet?
Inhaling his animal nitrate.
Oh, no, he did play someone very unhinged very well.
Yeah.
Like, it was, yeah. And I suppose being unknown, as well as helped.
He had, like, an unsettlingly youngish face, too, for...
That's right.
Crazy. You'd think, like, more middle-aged, I guess.
I got a random fact here.
Ooh.
The Dirty Harry films made their high-definition debut in 2008 on Blu-ray as a box set, the Dirty Harry Collection. The only one at the time with the initial launch to be available on its own was the Deadpool. So I don't know what that says.
Will, what was the box set you were telling me about?
Oh, what you got? I was trying to find the original Dirty Harry on DVD, Blu-ray. I ended up getting it from the library. But I was going through JB and I see this, the Clint Eastwood collection, and it's got a great big picture of Dirty Harry on the front. I'm like, oh, this is it.
From
this
film
is it.
Dirty
I'm
Harry,
set.
right?
Yeah, it's the one from the famous, you know, the bit of the bank robbery. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. And I turn around the back, and you know, it's the Where Eagles Dare, and then the Clint Eastwood one with the I think the chimps or the orangutan or
Orangutans, please.
That's it. I'm sorry, I haven't seen that one. And then it's like I think it's the third or maybe the fifth Dirty Harry. I'm not 100% sure.
Or maybe both.
It's not the Deadpool, and it's not the second one, but it's one of the others. So
not Dirty Harry, not Magnaforce. It's one of the bottom three.
Might have been false advertising there because the picture looks like it's from one, but I think it's
like, do you feel lucky, punk, or whatever?
Yeah.
Tim, do we have time for one more theory on Crackpot Theory?
It depends what the theory is.
Do you think the rooftop pool sniper, Scorpio, do you reckon the rest of the movie it's just a copycat, Andy Robinson, that we're seeing?
Oh.
Because on the roof when he's shooting the black guy and the Pashmina man, it seems like a different person almost. Like he's nervous, he gets fluttered.
You don't really see him, do you?
No. You just sort of
see the scope and maybe his hair.
Do you reckon it's a copycat, Andy Robinson?
I think that's a crock of shit, John.
Crock of shit. All right, big line.
You're really scraping the barrel.
What do you think, Will? Do you like this movie? A previous guest said it's just about a cop with a big gun that goes bang bang.
I like movies about a cop with a big gun that goes bang bang. That sounds bloody great. Yeah, I like this movie. I rewatched it last night. I think it's very rewatchable.
Because Trent said he liked the atmosphere more than anything when you first saw it. Rather than
absolutely.
the plot and the acting, it was just the 70s feel, yeah?
Well, just the look of it. What we were talking about earlier, looked lived in. A lived-in world, and I loved that sort of haze that's in the north. Well, as I've gotten older, I've understood it's a look we don't have in the southern hemisphere, really.
And it captures the city very well.
Yeah,
In that time period.
yeah, yep.
I love all the scenes where, Clint Eastwood's just running at night with no music playing in the background. It just feels so cool.
Pretty raw. Yeah.
One thing I really like about the movie, and this may be a strange thing to pick up on, but I really like when it's dark in this movie. Like, it's right proper dark. Like, there are parts where, it's hard to see what's going on. I like it. I think it works. When it's night, it's night. Not that sort of fake movie night you see sometimes.
Yeah. Day for night shooting. Ugh.
Do you think without the sequels it would have been as enduring? Like, would people... Because it's kind of... when
I think no, yeah. I don't think it would have been.
Yeah? Like, people would have just gone out of public consciousness.
Everything gets jumbled, and now, we
Yeah.
have to listen to countless people going, oh, is this the one where he says make my day?
Yeah.
Or is this one where he says marvel? Well, no one's ever said, is that the one he says marvelous? Bad catchphrase, but yeah.
And people don't think of the 5-6 bullets or whatever.
Yeah.
6 bullets.
Yeah,
Literally
that's right.
2 days ago, I was telling my mum, like, I'm going on the Dirty Harry podcast again. It's like, Dirty Harry, is that the one where he says make my day? And I'm like, no, that's...
I was hoping your mum would say Brudne Harry.
Harry.
If you could change one thing about this movie, Tim, like just say one small little, rather than just make it a modern movie, Nickelback soundtrack and boo-boo explosions and stuff, if you could change one small thing about it it's no secret my one is the suicide jumper scene. I get rid of that and just have a scene of Harry in his apartment watching the tap drip or something like Morgan Freeman.
I thought yours was the helicopter.
Well, no, Trent's turned me around on that. I quite like that.
What, switch the helicopter?
Shots, yeah. If you could get rid of one scene or something, I don't know. Anything in particular? Anyone here?
It's a pretty lean film.
Very
It doesn't-
lean.
Doesn't have that much fat.
There's one performance that I was a bit iffy on, and it's kind of funny because I don't think it's too strong. It's the doctor who tells them where Scorpio lives. I feel like he delivered his lines a bit too, stiffly, mechanically.
Anything for you, Will?
Oh, hello, Kat.
Oh, while Will thinks, my one suggestion would probably be, and I've mentioned this before, combine the chief and mayor into one
Yeah.
character. Because after watching it 5 times,
Which they
I was
sort
still,
of do in the sequels, yeah.
Yeah, I was still a bit sort of, I don't know, it's not clear who's got the authority.
I think it's a pretty well-paced film. I think all the scenes in it contribute something, even if they're not moving the plot along. Maybe I'll add a scene. Maybe another one where he goes to the diner and gets his usual dinner. I don't know if you want something to happen there. If you just want it to be like a scene where he's all alone eating his hot dogs for dinner. But I don't know. Maybe add something.
An eating scene.
I mean, today Miranda rights are so well known that you couldn't get away with a whole scene about that where Harry says, "What do you mean? What do you mean Miranda rights?" Everyone, that's drilled into people through popular culture now. So you'd have to replace that with another scene of him being, I don't know, being caught unsurprised by maybe just the depravity of Scorpio rather than the weakness of the laws.
They'd probably have a interrogation scene, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I rewatched City Heat, just sort of like a parody of Dirty Harry in a way. Burt Reynolds plays a private eye in the 30s or whatever, and Clint's like in another role. And there's a scene where they're trying to torture a suspect to get evidence, but it's a really quick scene, and Burt Reynolds just strikes a match as if he's going to burn him with a match or something. I wonder if that's like a nod to this movie. Yeah.
Maybe we could have had a scene what a lot of Dirty Harry's fellow cops think of his methods. Because, we got the top brass's opinion. We've got Chico's opinion. I don't know. Maybe just the general police force. I don't know. If we're just adding stuff. You don't really have to, but I mean, you know, if you're chucking it in.
Yeah, I think the film's fine as it is, honestly. Just that one performance was a bit weak, but even then I found it a bit funny.
We forgot to mention last minute, the people often talk about these ending scenes in relation to High Noon, the Western with Gary Cooper, where he also throws his badge on the ground. He's trying to get the whole town to help him protect them against this killer who's coming back to town, presumably to wreak vengeance. Mm-hmm. And they'll sort of find ways of saying, I don't want to get involved, or just leave, and he'll leave because he's got a personal vendetta against you, Sheriff Gary Cooper, and no one steps up except for him. And in the end, he goes away with Grace Kelly, his wife, and he just sort of flippantly, just his badge, he lumps it in the dirt, almost like, I don't need this anymore. And it's often name-checked with this. Have you seen that movie, Tim?
I have. It's a great film.
It's really good.
You guys seen it?
No.
It's a Western, but it's not like the John Wayne type, and it's all pretty much real time. So 90 minutes or whatever, and he's this bad guy's coming to get revenge or something to the town, and so it's him sort of running around trying to get help.
I think I've heard the name High Noon used in like pop culture. Like I guess it has a meaning there.
I think it's reasonably well known.
And Gary Cooper is sort of like Eastwood, tall, gangly guy, doesn't have a great range.
But he's not, from memory, he wasn't very confident in being
he's sweating a lot like Harry does. A through line, like Lloyd Bridges is his deputy who goes, make me the sheriff and I'll stand up. But he realises you're too juvenile, you're not ready, you're not a man yet. So he has a fight with him in the barn or whatever. And it's sort of like, that's a diversion. It's sort of comparable to the Miranda rights thing. Like, that's just a diversion to the real fight, the real enemy. Don't worry about that. We need to deal with Scorpio. Yeah. Well.
At the end.
We're at the end.
Ooh.
Do you still enjoy this movie, Tim?
I do, yeah. It's great. Classic.
I have a question. So, in the process of doing this podcast, how often did you have to rewatch the film? It wasn't like once before every session, right?
I haven't watched the movie in its entirety since maybe Christmas last year. I think I watched it again.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I know...
You mean like a month ago, right?
No, a year in that.
Okay.
I've watched this film in my life maybe 100 times, easy, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. I've only watched it the 3 times for when I've come on the podcast, and... You know, each time it's been a good experience. The first time, obviously, first viewing of a great film. Second time, wow, this really holds up. And then the third time is, it held up last time. I'm really keen to watch it again. And yeah, all 3 times are really great. And also, you know, because I had to focus on different things each time I came on, I wanted to see the film in its entire context again, in context of the scenes I'm going to talk about. So I was always paying attention and, you know, noticing nice little things.
I think it really holds up well. I think it's going to become a regular film I'll watch, I reckon.
Right.
Chuck it in the rotation, I reckon.
We've convinced someone.
You'll eventually get that box set and get number 3 and 4 or whatever.
Getting the box set that's just 5 copies of the Deadpool.
But even though you like the movie, Bartek and Will, do you think we wasted Tim, well, not Tim, Trent and I, but some of us wasted 60 hours of our life? Tell me, I gots to know.
If you had a good time, then who's anyone to say that you've wasted your time? So I guess the question is, did you have a good time doing Dirty Harry Minute?
I did. I loved it. Tim?
I did, yeah. I don't know if I'd buy into the minute-by-minute format completely, but if there's a film... There's not many films I would actually bother talking about minute by minute.
There was never any point where you said, man, we should have done this film minute. It was always like, Dirty Harry was a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think you'll ever watch it again in its entirety, Tim? Or
oh, yeah.
You need a full decade?
I actually haven't been watching it while we've been doing this, because I don't really want to ruin it, in a way.
Who would you recommend Dirty Harry to? Like, would a millennial like this movie?
Anyone who keeps raving on about Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker.
I mean, Will and I are millennials, but I guess we do like film and we are open to watching many different kinds. We don't have too much bias, so...
I'll give anything a go, pretty much.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe there are a lot of people who make up their minds very easily. If something in this film, like, doesn't work for them, that, might be an instant no. Like, I recently did a film on my podcast called Tokyo Godfathers, a Japanese animated Christmas film, which is very good, but it's got a very confused sort of identity for one of its characters who might be trans, but they might be gay, and there might be some people who are really sensitive to that and like immediately turn off the film, not watch it even though it's a very good film. So, and this is a 70s film that doesn't really take any sensitivities. Like there's one scene where they list off he hates this, he hates that, it's got slurs in it. So there might be some people who might just go instantly like, oh, it used that word, I'm out. So if anyone listening to this is not like that, I could recommend the film to them.
John, I think, is it fair to say about half the guests probably laugh at certain elements of this film?
Oh, yes.
Some of them say Andy Robinson is a pretty bad actor.
Yeah, people think he's cartoon villain. For that reason, I think he's very good. People don't like the lack of depth on whole for Harry. They want to know more about him, but maybe that's just a modern preconception. Once again, is it Silent Rivers Run Deep or Dead Inside, Dead Wife? We don't, I'd say this movie is great for jaded police officers, hot dog aficionados, Scotch tape salesmen. Not so great for people who scare easily, neighbourhood watch enthusiasts, or lovers of constitutional amendments.
I think he's referencing the film, like individual elements from certain scenes.
What about you, Trent? Final sort of words on this movie? Maybe particularly, is it fascist? Is it like, quote, adolescent strongman crap?
Yeah, it is.
Propaganda.
It is, but, it's also entertainment. And if you think about when it came out, very confronting. That the policeman was a very respected member of the community in most places, and here we go looking at them perhaps not being perfect.
Yeah, starting the film honouring police officers.
But yeah.
Yeah, this is a time where their reputation is going down and victims' rights are going up. Like California gets rid of the death penalty. Charles Manson's in that sweet spot where he's not put to death, and it looks like everything's going away.
Zodiac killer on the loose.
Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts, Will, on this movie?
In the bit where Harry and Chico accidentally they mistake that the gentleman with the tan bag going down the thing, and they people get in front of him on the zebra crossing. Does Harry say something to the effect of "Watch where you're going, Hammerhead"?
Hammerhead.
Oh, that cracked me up, and I was like, did he actually say Hammerhead, or am I just imagining that?
No, he really said that.
Is that a reference to like their head shape or like their haircut?
It's just
Now, Bartek, I believe you may have a quote for us to end this podcast.
I don't know if quote's the right word, but I have a thing.
While you're getting it ready, I have one I prepared earlier. Everyone's sick of these Twilight Zone wrap-ups, but here's mine while you prepare, Bartek. Of course, we all know cops don't really violate Miranda rights, and they certainly do not commit murder. But to a city caught in the middle of turmoil, conflict, and municipal inertia, a cop can become many things: friend, defender, guardian. Especially a cop like Dirty Harry Callahan, who did violate Miranda rights, and who did commit murder in the bright sunlight of the Twilight Zone.
You were saying that your American accent isn't very good, but it's very consistent, and I don't have any confidence in American accent, so forgive me.
You can do it in Polish if you like.
This is December. This is December 1971, the aftermath of a Smith & Wesson party. The killer's name, Scorpio, a compendium of unlikely criminal types, and the elusive taker of countless human lives. Yet for all his rampant and reckless chaos, he faced no justice at the hands of his direct opposition, the law, who saw fit to release him and make him a righteous victim. The solution to this madness lay somewhere between good and evil, where right and wrong answered to a different authority. No comment on his death save for this. Justice can span a 1.5-hour Warner Brothers film, and retribution is never subject to a court order in the Twilight Zone.
We've done it. Many thanks, Tim and Trent, my long-suffering co-host. Yes, Bartek and Will. Please go out and watch Dirty Harry if you haven't already. Start your own Minute by Movie podcast if you like the idea and you have a favourite movie. Please like and subscribe on Facebook.
I think we should say congratulations to you, John.
Yes.
For lasting every minute. Something that none of us could do.
No, exactly. and there's a possibility we may be back film by film for the sequels. And I'd say probably likely.
Yes, please.
Not minute by minute, just to
No.
be...
Oh, God, no. Fuck, kill me now.
Just like a half-hour summary and then an audio commentary style thing.
Shout out to any fans, Todd.
Shout out to Todd. Who else? Austin Pond. We have Walt Murray at the Wilder Ride podcast. We have a whole lot of people I'm forgetting now. Daniel Thompson, who likes to wear... what does he like to wear? Hawaiian shirts, yeah. Everyone who's reached out to us. People I'm forgetting. Karen Sims. Tim.
Oh, yes.
So nice. Karen Sims, thank you very much. That's it. I'd just like to end with a quote from Clint Eastwood, Bronco Billy. A message to all our partners out there. Finish your oatmeal at breakfast. Do as your mom and pa tell you, because they know best. Don't ever tell a lie. And say your prayers before you go to bed. As our friends south of the border say, adios amigos on Dirty Harry Minute.
This podcast contains spoilers for Dirty Harry.
And here's to you, Andy Robinson. You played such a maniacal hero. Big bastards, Andy Robinson. Liberace is the role for you. And Star Trek 2, Star Trek 2. We'd like to know a little bit about your backstory. For our screenplay, what rock you crawled out from. Look around you, all you see are victims there to take. Stroll around Cisco, the mischief you can make. And here's to you, Andy Robinson, Miranda Escobedo, they set you free. Harry stood on your knee. Where have you gone, Inspector Callahan? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. The courts want proof, but it's all true. And here's to you, Andy Robinson. You played such a maniacal hero. Whoa, big bastards, Andy Robinson. Liberace was the role for you. Star Trek 2, Star Trek 2. Garrick. Hide yourself in a stadium where no one ever goes. What's that you say? You're not crazy. Just a part you're playing, your career's starting out. There'll be juicier parts, your agent says no doubt. And here's to you, Andy Robinson. We like everything you do. It's all true. You and Eastwood made the perfect horror movie. We watched every minute through. Least we could do. God bless you, please, Andy Robinson. You played such a great villain role. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Big bastards, Andy Robinson. Andy Robinson. Bless Andy Robinson. Andy Robinson.
evening.
Yeah.
All right, so cold tonight. Makes you want to be a Boilermaker, huh?
And how the hell would you know?
Because I was pounding the beat and you were still peeing in your pants. Because I used to freeze my ass off right on the same street. So many times I thought about becoming a Boilermaker. Yeah, I was a hotshot like you. Didn't have any respect for the badge or the uniform. I got my own business now. You know what I'm doing? I'm still freezing my ass off and taking a lot of flack from a snot-nosed rookie like you.
I'm sorry.